Hey everyone, welcome back. My name is Jackie and today I'm going to talk about my breastfeeding tips. If this is your first time tuning in, please subscribe and let's do this. So my first tip is a lactation consultant. I suggest seeing one before and after you give birth. This was my biggest regret. I wished I'd seen a lactation consultant. I thought, how hard could it be? You just put a baby on your nipple and everything will be okay. But I was completely wrong. So on our second night at the hospital, Jamie would not stop crying. Like, I did not sleep and I was getting worried and I started tearing up. I tried breastfeeding him, I checked his diaper, I did everything that I could and he just would not stop crying. It turned out that I wasn't doing a proper latch and I wasn't producing enough milk because he was not latching on properly. A few days after, I was like, okay, I need help. So I went to see a lactation consultant and God bless her soul, she saved me. She taught me how to do a proper latch. It became pain-free and I was able to breastfeed properly. So this is my number one suggestion: get a lactation consultant. Next is hydrate. So wherever you're gonna breastfeed, whether it's on your rocking chair or a specific area on your couch, make sure you prepare a little station with a water bottle and some snacks, because once you start breastfeeding, you can't really move, especially when you're home alone and your husband's out working. You need that. You need to stay hydrated. When I was breastfeeding, I was so dehydrated and always constantly needed water, and it also helps with your milk production. The water bottle that I usually use is a Swell Bottle, so anything that can keep your water cool for a long period of time. So moving on is a good latch. I already talked about how important it is to have a good latch when it comes to breastfeeding. There are so many strategies and tricks out there on how to make a good, proper latch. The one that helped me the most, suggested by his pediatrician, is have your nipple facing his nose. So I would usually have him in the cradle position. So I would have my nipple facing his nose and he has the tendency to lift his chin up and open his mouth super wide, and then that's when you shove your whole booby in. So that's a trick that helped us and I used it throughout our whole breastfeeding experience. So moving on is figuring out which breast to feed from next. What helped me the most is an app called Baby Tracker. It is completely free and you can mark down which boob you use, how long you were breastfeeding, and there's so many other features on that app. So that's what helped me figure out which boob I last fed from. Another trick that I've been hearing a lot from other moms is the scrunchie trick. So basically you would have a scrunchie on your left arm because you fed from your left boob. So when it's time for the next feeding, you know you fed from the left one, so then you would feed from the right. And then you would move the scrunchie to your right arm. So there are many tricks. There are many tricks out there, but I mainly use the app. So next is vitamin D. So most pediatricians are gonna suggest that your newborn needs 1 drop a day of vitamin D. The most common trick is that you would have the drop on your finger and your newborn will like lick it or suck it off. My trick is that I put the drop on my nipple prior to breastfeeding, because I didn't like the idea of having it on my finger and having them suck it off. If you don't want to do any of that, I know most mothers would take vitamin D, but it has to be at least 6,400 IUs for it to be transferred into their breast milk and then onto the newborn. So my tip for milk production is oatmeal. I would have it for breakfast, for lunch, as a snack. I haven't breastfed in over like a year and a half and I cannot have oatmeal anymore because I was so sick and tired of it when I was breastfeeding, but it did help a lot for my milk production. Another thing that I would snack on is called Boons. They're cookies. You can find them at Walmart or Bye Bye Baby and they're pretty good too. So the next 2 tips is about pumping your breast milk. This is useful, especially if the father wants to have some bonding time through the through the feeding experience. I was fortunate enough that my husband started work really late, so he would let me sleep 6 hours from 10 p.m. till 4 a.m. I would wake up, take over for the rest of the day, and he would sleep at 4 a.m. all the way up until he has to go to work. With that being said, with this routine, I would just go to sleep. I wouldn't pump or feed before. With that being said, that was my biggest regret. Always pump before you go to sleep. The reason for this is that I would wake up in the middle of the night, so I would have interrupted sleep because I would just leak everywhere. The sheets, my shirt, and it's just super uncomfortable. So yes, that's my 1 tip on pumping. Pump before you sleep. Last tip is the 666 rule. 6 hours room temp, 6 days in the fridge, and 6 months in the freezer. So this is for pumping your breast milk. Your breast milk actually lasts for up to 6 hours on the counter at room temp, 6 days in the fridge, 6 months in the freezer. And if you do have a deep freezer, your breast milk can actually last up to a year. Bonus tip, no mixing. What I mean by no mixing is if you're pumping and you want to add that milk to a breast milk that you have in the fridge, do not do that. You have to take out the breast milk out of the fridge, make sure they're at the same temperature, and then you can mix. Or the one that you freshly pumped, you can put it in the fridge, wait a couple of hours so that it's cold, and then you can put it in the bottle of the one that was there previously. So that is all for today, guys. Those are my tips on breastfeeding this little chunky monkey. And if you have any tips of your own, please write them down below in the comment section. I would love to hear your tips. Don't forget to say like, and subscribe. Good job. See you in the next video. Say bye. Hey everyone, welcome back. My name is Jackie and today I'm going to talk about my breastfeeding tips. If this is your first time seeing us, please subscribe. Who's us? So next is figuring out, so my tip, with your, sorry.